I believe this is 2005 Toyota 4Runner. Going to be changing out the head gaskets. And in order to do that, you got to take off a bunch of stuff, including the timing chain. And they say this is a very long job, so I will fill you in on different tips or anything that I learned how to make this job easier for you. I took out the air box, the air hose, disconnected a couple bolts to try to have some wiggle room. I took out the fan, then the shroud. I am going to leave the radiator in. What I'm going to do is remove this intake manifold. So I took off the intake manifold. This is the lower intake manifold, and you can see these are going to stay in, and so is the fuel rail. You just want to take out 10-12 millimeter bolts and pry this thing out. As far as the tabs that connect to this, you just want to push in the tabs and pull out. For this tensioner pulley, clockwise to remove this tensioner pulley. And also you have to remove this bracket. And in order for you to remove this bracket, you have to push the AC compressor completely out of the way. I recommend evacuating the AC system before you do this job. I used a breaker bar. I put it right here, and I turned the engine over really fast, and that is the only thing that broke this free. I tried impact, it didn't do anything. I tried torching it for 15 minutes, it didn't do anything, and that was my last resort. Okay, so I pretty much got the timing cover off. There's quite a few bolts. Have to pry it out from side to side. You're gonna have to clean off all this old gasket material, each side down here. Try not to let any fall into the oil pan. Took off the camshafts. There's a sequence for that. Once you take off the camshafts, you're gonna have to take the exhaust manifold off. After that, you can start taking off these head bolts. There's a sequence for that as well. Pipe back here, I have it right there. There's 6 bolts shaped in a triangle. You want to take all those out, and this will pop out, and just put it off to the side. Straps back here, take those off. Gonna have to take off this oil tube and this trans tube. I'll check back with you soon. I did get the heads out. This exhaust manifold, the bolts came out. This one I had to pull the whole exhaust pipe out to get this head off. And you can see where it basically failed. You see all this pink stuff on the side of the block. It's just leaking externally. And this engine was it was a rebuilt motor, 30,000 miles on it. You can see what I mean. I had to pull the whole exhaust pipe out. I have the right cylinder head back on. There is a torque sequence for this. That is a sequence for the right head. And it wants you to tighten these bolts to 27 foot-pounds in this sequence. And once you're done torquing these bolts down, you want to go down, and it wants us to grab some paint and mark the front of each bolt going towards the engine. Torque these down to 180 degree revolution. You can see right there. It's pretty close, doesn't have to be perfect. So when you set these camshafts in, just look at the caps, they have numbers. You want to put the caps in the right spot. And you also want to torque the 10 millimeter bolts to 9 Newton meters, and you want to torque the 12 millimeter bolts to 24 Newton meters. This is for the left head. That should align with that. And these 2 arrows should align with that notch right there. pointing on the number 1, it looks like. Same thing for the right head. This one actually has 1 arrow, a dot, and behind it there's a notch. I painted it green a little. So that's pretty much how you want to set the cams. Torque them all evenly and follow the marks. But on those ground straps in the back, as soon as you get these cams set in, there's 2 here and it looks like there's 1 there. Now we have to set the actual timing chain. And I did find an easier way is to put this idler on last. It's down to 44 foot-pounds. These black links should align up, but I already rotated the engine, so it'll take an awful long time for them to align up again. But I do have it aligned as far as the marks, and I'll show you exactly. See the arrow on the left head, and you see that green notch. You see we're aligning up perfectly on this. We're aligning up with this notch right there. You see the 2 arrows. Just about perfect. Same thing here. So everything is in time. I'm very confident in this. You do not want to pull this pin until all the slack is on this side. Right now the slack is over here. So you're gonna have to rotate this engine until all the slack is in this area, and then you pull this pin. This is a finished job. It took me 5 days, 4 hours per day. Paint mark everything that you torque. Use new gaskets for everything, and just stay organized. And pretty much anyone could probably do it. There's no special tools required for this job. It just takes patience. Also want to check underneath for leaks. Look on the bottom of the cylinder head. Make sure it's not leaking whatsoever. You want to check in the rear corner. That's the weakest part where it would leak.